This is Two Strangers Meet, where you get to be a part of the conversation. I'm your host, Jazzy Hermione, where we talk all things life, change, and challenges, where every story matters. Your voice, your experience, let's meet. Welcome back to the Two Strangers Meet podcast, and I've got to apologize. I don't have any responses this week. I kind of came up with this episode idea a few days ago, and I had a different question altogether for our weekly question. So I'm going to push that back to next week. So if you still want to record your message, go to twostrangersmeet.com right now and record, and you can be in next week's episode. So sorry. But I wanted to talk about this whole 0 to 100 concept of when you start something, you want to go whole 110%, but like that isn't consistency. And then you stop after a week because you realize you can't give 110 every single day. So let's just get into the episode, and I'm just going to riff and chat with you like always. This whole idea of this podcast episode came about because it's something I personally struggle with all the time. When I want to do something, I want to try and make it 100% perfect. Of course I do. We all want everything to be successful. But it means I feel like I get stopped in trying to go for things. It can really be a struggle because I'll try to go 100%. Going from 0 to 100 is quite difficult. I wanted this to be kind of your permission slip for when you're starting something, to not have it to be perfect, to not have a plan in place when you're doing it. Sometimes that you can just start something for the sake of starting it. In a world where we have so many concerns, worries, things on our plate, especially things that like side projects, passion projects that we do want eventually to make money in, because obviously we need to pay the bills. There's a lot of pressure we can put ourselves on. It has to be perfect because it's got to make money in the first week. It's got to provide for us, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes you can just do something for the sake of wanting to do it. Like sometimes there doesn't have to be an ulterior motive. It doesn't have to be productivity. It doesn't have to be increasing your future self, improving you in some realm. If you want to do something just because it's fun, just because you had the idea, go out and go do it. If you want to start knitting, go knit. Go have the time of your life knitting, and don't worry about what it looks like. If you want to just sit there, I actually have no idea how to knit, guys. If you want to sit there and like try and make a sock, you don't have to be stressed out about trying to make 100 socks so you can go sell them, and then how are you going to sell them, and you need to make a website. Just go knit for the fun of it. Sometimes you can just do it for the fun of it. It doesn't have to reward you in any way because the reward is just doing it for fun, fulfilling that part of you that wants to do it. And this is something I have to really pay attention to because, for example, this podcast. Yes, the reason I want to do this podcast is to help thousands of people, reach thousands of people, help share everyone's story. And of course, I won't lie that I'm hoping that eventually, in a year or 2 or 3, that this could become a job and give me some form of monetary payment. Not because I think this is the reason that's going to make me a billionaire, but because for me to be able to consistently put in time, I do have bills to pay. Sorry, but in this world, like you do need money to live. That if I could make this one of my sole jobs and income earners, so then I could focus on educating and inspiring you guys, what a fulfilling job that would be. I would love for this to make money so I could do this full-time, to be full-time inspiring people and sharing people's stories. But in saying that, I know that's my vision, but I'm trying not to get stuck on that vision. Like right now, my job is to consistently record every single week. My job isn't to try and grow this podcast to 1 million downloads a week, a year. Is that even possible? Do podcasts do that? My job right now is to simply build that skill set, build that routine of sitting down and recording. Because how can I grow the podcast? How can I then look for podcast recording studios and marketing and get people to help me when I can't do the basic thing of what I need to do, which is sit down and record and yap for 30 minutes? If I can't sit down here every single week, what's the point of doing all of these things? What's the point of having a 100-step plan, a 10-year growth plan, if I can't do step 1? I talked about this in episode 1, but it's like sometimes you need to focus on this, where you are right now before getting stressed over step 10, step 100. because you're not going to get to those steps if you can't get step 1 done. Sometimes if you want a project to go really well or implement something, you need to start really small, and you can't progress to the next step unless you're doing that first thing consistently. Right now, my focus is building the consistency of recording every week. And once I have nailed that, once I feel confident with that, then I can focus on improving it, focus on growing it, expanding it, getting people on board. But I need to first be able to confidently sit in front of a camera, in front of a microphone, and yap to you guys and give you actual value. Because at the end of the day, your product still needs to be good. If you're a business owner, yes, you can have amazing marketing. Marketing is an incredible tool. But if your product isn't good, no amount of marketing can save that. And like another point to that is, just because you know in the long run you want to do something doesn't mean you have to do that from day one. And look, do what I say, not what I do. Let's use my YouTube as an example. My YouTube, I want to do vlogs every single week just to document my life, see how this year goes, because I know there's so many things constantly changing and happening. And I want to do it every single week. But why am I beating myself up that I missed 1 week in week 2? I still have to build the skill set to be able to do that every single week. The more I do it, the quicker I'm going to get, the higher my product's going to be. But I've still got to build that consistency of it. And like at the start, it's probably going to be really freaking difficult to stay consistent every single week. And then I'm beating myself up thinking I'm a failure for missing 1 week because I had 20 other things that took priority. This is your permission that starting off, you can just do it whenever you want. It doesn't have to be on this strict routine of every single Thursday night you're going to post a vlog. How about we just try and do it as much as we can? And then once we feel comfortable with it a bit more and feel like we can actually do this, then we'll start pushing to try and get it every single fortnight or every single week. But we've got to start somewhere. And if you're going from never posting a single YouTube video to then going, I want to post one every single Thursday at 6 p.m, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that might work. But if you try that and it's not working, maybe you need to pull the pressure back a little bit. Maybe it's not meant to be at this very point of time. And it's constantly listening to yourself and seeing where you can push, where you can pull back from, and how this is fitting into your life. Because if you're burning out from it, you're not going to stay consistent on it. If you tell yourself that you have to do it every single week, as soon as you miss a week, you're probably going to give up entirely and never post another video. So let's pull the pressure off us a little bit and just give our best. But then also at the same time, it's like knowing yourself truly and how you feel. Because yes, if you're absolutely exhausted, you need to pull back a bit more. But there's a difference between being lazy and listening to your body. And honestly, this just comes with like reflection and time and getting to know yourself more, spending alone time together with yourself, journaling, all of that things, to be able to figure out what you're truly feeling. Because there are times when I'm coming up with 101 excuses of why I can't go to the gym. And I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm listening to my body. Actually, I'm just being lazy, truthfully. And I'm just coming up with excuses of why. But then there's other times where I'm like, no, I'm actually exhausted. I should not be going to the gym. So it's that weighing up, and I wish there was an easy way for me to tell you how you choose between the two and figure out when you're just being lazy or when you actually should be listening to what you're telling yourself. Because honestly, there's not an easy answer to tell you. It's just getting to know you, because you'll be able to call yourself out on it. You'll be able to tell yourself, wait, no, I'm just making a million excuses. I know it's not going to be easy every day. I've just got to get up and do it. I've just got to go start for 5 minutes and then see how I feel. A good one with this too is the Raw Reality podcast with Tori Story and Fit with Lily. They recently talked about this whole concept of being that girl and having habits and routines in place. And like on an ideal day, what is your routine? But then what's your minimum? What's your minimum energy output? What are you going to achieve on the days where you're sick, you're extremely tired, your work plate is like over the moon, like you have 5 projects due that day? Like, what is your minimum then? And people may be like, oh, it's to just get 10,000 steps. No, your minimum is to just go outside for 5 minutes and walk and try and get 3 meals in. Your minimum is for the days where you are at like 10% to 0% energy. What are you going to do on those days? That's your minimum. Break it down. Write down exactly what it is. Because this will help you so much in life, in your fitness, in your business, in your projects. If you know what's expected of you when you are at your absolute worst. And I want it to be dead simple, dead easy. Because we are not going to be able to give 110%. We're not going to give 80%. We're not going to give 60% every single day. Some days we're going to have 10% in our bucket left. That's the days when it truly matters. I saw a quote that has always stuck with me of, a tea bag doesn't show what's inside unless it's in hot water. Your values, your beliefs, your standards don't really mean anything until you get put in hot water, until you get put into tough times, when your ideal day cannot happen, when on paper it's just a complete mess. It doesn't matter how disciplined you say you are, what happens when life goes out the window. That's when you need to be able to hold yourself and be like, okay, this is what my minimum is today. So if you want to listen to more of that, go to Raw Reality's episode. It was highly recommend. I'll leave it in the description. And now there's 2 final points I want to make in this whole topic of like going to 0 to 100, trying your best. Is firstly, like completely different side note, but when you have high motivation to do something, put things in place then to mitigate any excuse, any way of pulling out while you're highly motivated. So when you do obviously come to having to do that task, your motivation is probably dropped. You're probably not that excited, but if you have things in place that forces you to get up and go do it, it's going to make it 10 times easier, because we all know starting is the hardest thing. And I want to use this example of my photography. I had this little week of going, oh my God, I want to do maternity shoots. I want to do portrait shoots. I want to do more pose shooting. I was like, oh, sweet, amazing. Let's reach out to some people. I locked in a couple photo shoots 3 weeks from that point that I had made the decision. And let me tell you, 3 weeks from making that decision, the self-doubt creeped in, the self-questioning. I was like, can I do this? I don't think I'm good at this. I can't do this. Like, oh my God, why did I sign up to do this? But I had put something in place that meant I had already taken their money. I had no choice but to go to that photo shoot and take photos. And guess what? It turned out good. Every question, why was I even self-doubting in the first place? I was fine at it. Of course I was fine. I was just using all of these thoughts to try and tell myself I wasn't worthy when I was. But if it wasn't for me putting something in place 2 weeks ago, I would have chickened out. So here's your sign. If you're highly motivated to do something, put things in to make you do it. Even if it's as simple as setting a date to record, put it in your calendar. Set a notification, set a reminder, and then show up and do it. And then I just want to end this episode with something I heard someone on Instagram say. She said, especially with like your passion projects, sometimes like obviously when you have a job, like sometimes you got to do the things you don't want to do. But she said, pay attention to how you feel after you do it. Pay attention to your energy. Because if you try something and then afterward you quite low energy, you're not hyped up about it, maybe that's probably not a project you should do. Like this is super, super important for passion projects. If you're not lit up and excited after doing it, why are you still doing it? Maybe it's just not meant for you. Like for me, let's take this podcast for example. After I finish recording, I have so much energy. I'm excited. I feel empowered. I feel so happy. That's how I know it's something I should do more of. But in other areas where I'm like, oh, well, I did it, but like there was no oomph behind me. There was no excited feeling. Maybe I can really kind of let it go. Maybe that kind of wasn't what I was meant to do in that way. Also, permission slip to just try a bunch of things. But like in summary, small, do things just for fun, pay attention of your energy. I just want to leave you with just, this is your year. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. If you say you're going to do something, do it. But at the same time, if it doesn't feel like it's working and it feels like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, permission to change. Permission to give up on that thing and go somewhere else. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to leave you. If you want to be a part of next week's episode, simply send me a message on the twostrangersmeet.com website and I'll feature you. See ya!